Keeping Score with Rick Horrow. We talk about international sports business. You've heard me postulate that the business is $1 trillion business on an annual basis. Nobody knows that, but for sure. But the bottom line is the revenues increase at a 17-18% annual rate, and much of it is international. The American audience is xenophobic enough to think that everything runs the center of the universe from New York. Not true. Maybe even runs from London, but certainly somebody who is the beneficiary of one of the most significant entrepreneurial companies out there, MP and Silva, international media rights company, etc., based in London, 20 offices around the globe, and expanding every day, 10,000 hours of programming, but even more. I'm not going to talk about it. I'll let him do it. Dan Cohen, the managing partner and senior vice president of the Americas, and a good friend, history at Bloomberg, and otherwise one of the foremost entrepreneurs in the international media space, Dan Cohen. How's that?
That's a big mouthful. Thanks for having me, Rick. I appreciate it.
Well, more to come. Obviously, a significant career, and obviously MP Silva is something that's very important to you and very important in the business. Give us the elevator speech about the company, where it is today, and what your expansion plans are.
Absolutely. So MP and Silva, it quite frankly, I could tell you, across the Americas marketplace, is very little known. And that's the goal of my job and team that we have across the Americas right now, is to make it that it is and has become over the last 10 years in Europe and Asia, primarily. Years ago, two extraordinary gentlemen, Ricardo Silva and Andrea Radrizzani, had a brilliant idea of acquiring media rights and distributing them for major soccer properties. And in 10 years, it has developed to be close to a $1 billion a year in turnover in revenue company, expanded across the globe with, as you mentioned, 20 offices. And now we handle some of the biggest sports properties around the NFL, French Open, Major League Baseball, as well as English Premier League. We are the largest partner, 52 territories globally for English Premier League that we partner with them on. La Liga, Bundesliga, French League One, and of course Serie A, just to name a few.
Yeah, just to name a few, but obviously growing every day. The model that you guys have made successful, there are other companies that do it as well, but you have a significant portfolio. Effectively, for a business show, it's to take a fairly significant risk but feel comfortable with your own competence to be able to make money off that risk. I'm not going to ask you for the extent of upfront payments or guarantees on each deal, but you're comfortable enough with the broad expansion in the media space, digital and over the top, that you're willing to take a significant risk in that space in order to get these deals long term. I assume that's still correct, right?
No, that's absolutely correct. I'd almost say that the trends have shown that it's not so much a risk anymore. It is truly an investment with a pretty well-defined return at this point. As platforms continue to grow, there's more options to put content in place in your hand, on the road, on different screens. And so actually we thought it was a risk back, but now it's live sports content is the number one revenue generating source in the sports business arena, and we feel really confident about the that we have.
Dan Cohen, Managing Partner, SVP of the Americas of MP and Silva. The world is getting smaller every day. That's trite, but it used to be that we would very carefully distinguish between rights across the pond and rights in North America and vice versa. How fully integrated is media today from a global perspective? What's changed, and where does it go in the future?
That's a great question. So I think that you've seen a real global expansion of an audience base, and afforded that is the advent and the evolution and continued revolution of the Internet. Whether you're a Pac-12 alumni to watch an OTT platform, if you're living abroad in Asia and Europe and Africa or somewhere else, or if you're if you're just a traveler on the road going from New York to London and you want to make sure that you stay up to date with your Knicks or your Leicester City, perhaps. And so from our perspective, the interdependence of economies and how travel has afforded people all the did from home, that's really what's driven, for example, a lot of these rights fees, yes, they continue to grow domestically. The audience does reach a max at a certain point. And so these what we call the core four, your big four leagues specifically, they need to look outside their borders. And that's where we've seen a big push the last 3 to 5 years, whether it's the NFL playing games in London and now looking to play possibly games in China and Mexico, or Major League Baseball playing in Australia or Japan. You see a lot of this international growth. And I think we're really well situated to help these leagues grow their audience and grow the revenue.
It's important today, Dan, I assume, to be a flexible business person and be schooled at how to interpret evolving contracts. It used to be that the media rights were very carefully defined territorially and platform-wise. The expanded dimension, based on what I'm hearing from you, are the globalization both across the pond that way and coming back this way, as well as the blurring of the line between over-the-top and digital in all of these rights deals. So how do you stay ahead of that evolutionary curve?
Well, I think it starts with the people you have in-house, that they're innovative, that they're creative, that they have their finger on the pulse, and we're really confident that we have a really sharp staff. We're also proud of the fact that we're not even a 100-person company globally across 20 offices and growing, opening a new office in South America shortly. And with that short but tight staff, we're very innovative. And when it comes to technology, I mean, a great example of that was our partnership this year with the NFL and Deluxe Media, where we're distributing NFL globally in Europe using cloud technology. We're not using a satellite distribution model. And so that really gives a lot of flexibility financially to our partners on both sides, but it affords the NFL to get their content out and across a large continent. So to your point, I think it's really about the people, and it's about those people using the best technology that's available.
Dan Cohen, let's talk about the people on the other side of this. The leagues have to evolve too, I suspect. And the Premier League, for example, no longer assumes it's comfortable with the continents to the east of North America, but with the revolutionary Saturday and Sunday morning games and the fantastic explosion of Premier League television rights in America, you have people that are Leicester City fans that never were before, for example. So, and I assume what that means is it takes an understanding from all international leagues that distribution goes both ways, and it has to be easier for them to do business with companies like you to make that happen as well, I assume.
Yeah, and I think that's really key for us. I mean, we talk about these 20 offices. That's really what differentiates MP and Silva, is that we invest in having people locally. If the office is 4 people, if the office is 40 people, those people are local people who know the marketplace, they know the broadcasters, they know how people consume this content, how fans engage with this content, whether it be from a consumption perspective, a technology perspective. And so what we're trying to do in our role is we're not just the broker. We're not just taking content from one side of the world and finding it a home with a broadcaster or a platform in another part of the world. We're really a consultancy, and we help educate success in that from say, Major League Baseball and the World Baseball Classic. We grew that property incredibly in 2013. Look forward to doing that again, and even more so in 2017. I think we've got a couple cards up our sleeve to even bring in some new platforms, global social platforms into the process. So it's a lot about educating, and you need to have someone who really has that local market knowledge so that you're helping both your rights holder and your platform or your broadcaster really market this product and educate their fans and audience about whatever that sport may be.
Dan Cohen, MP and Silva, give me your 60,000-foot reaction to the devil term that every one of the leagues and teams talks about in conferences and otherwise that's called decouching. Stadiums are more prolific and first class these days, but yet media is multi-platform, and if you have your way, media is the best thing ever. How do you, as a professional in the industry, deal with the tension between getting people to stadiums and getting people to watch on a whole bunch of different devices, which is now called decouching in the broadest sense?
Sure. Well, listen, I think the Business 101 says you go in the direction where the tendencies are going, right? You don't battle upstream. And the tendencies are that the at-home experience is evolving, and it's evolving incredibly. And you can argue that the dollar amount behind that from your technology companies and from your broadcast companies, they've got a lot of money at stake here. And we like where that's going. We like that there's innovation, there's 4K, there's 8K. We like that there's new players in the marketplace, Yahoo, Twitter now being involved. And we think that the at-home experience has never been better. And it's never a better time to be in the space of sports media and buying and selling and advising on sports media rights. With that said, I think that you've really seen a nice job of these team owners and these leagues to find ways to bring innovation to the stadium. And whether that's through handheld devices or in-stadium entertainment and replays, I look at the at-bat application as something that's really leading that evolution. And just recently was at a Major League Baseball game, looked to my left, looked to my right, and both people were tuned into their at-bat so that they can be streaming other games while watching the game. It's almost like a second screen experience while you're at a live event. I don't know about you, Rick, but I always paid to go to an event and enjoy the thing in front of me, but we're watching this consumption change, and people want a lot of this content to come media feed, data, and now you can start to really increase. I think you'll see a nice blend between the two.
Yeah, I think we always go to see, to pay, to watch the thing in front of us. Sometimes the thing in front of us isn't worth watching, so you're watching other stuff. So I guess that's part of the answer as well. Finally, from your perspective, on a personal note, you were a Bloomberg guy for a long time, and now you're an MP and Silva guy too. So what actually happens to allow your transition easier? Anything surprise you? Anything that is bigger than otherwise, easier than otherwise? What's the transition been looking like for you?
It's been exciting. It's been absolutely wonderful. I think while at Bloomberg, and it's a pretty robust, large international company, we had a really nice tight-knit group that had an entrepreneurial spirit, and we were in fact incubated as a startup within Bloomberg. And there's a lot of that same spirit at MP and Silva. Even though we are one of the world's largest agencies in terms of revenue on the media rights side, like I mentioned before, it's not even 100 people. So you have to wear a lot of hats. You have to play in many different spaces. For example, we've just expanded our services, our offerings, if you will, to the sponsorship and marketing part of the world with deals with the Football Singapore and Football Malaysia entities. Most recently in the U.S., we've partnered with Monumental Sports to be the official marketing arm for the Verizon Center and the Caps, Wiz, Mystics, and all the new entities coming to that building. So we're trying to do a lot of new entrepreneurial things, innovative on top of technology, and I think there's a lot of similarities between that Bloomberg experience and here at MP and Silva.
And the guy's wearing a lot of hats, obviously, and we'll continue to wear some hats. MP Silva lucky because Dan Cohen is involved with that organization. More to come. Rick Horrow, speak with you in a minute.